Good evening, mga kalaro, and welcome to the Council of Titos, the show on the Laro-Laro lang channel that talks about a different kind of game. The reality TV game show and social experiment that has run for over 2 decades, almost 25 that actually. Survivor. I'm Chief Bisdak, Joel Parcon, and with me as always is Juxtapotito Jao Atienza. What's up, Jao? How are you doing?
I'm wearing the Peanuts shirt in solidarity with Teeny.
With
I
Teeny.
thought she was gonna get at least one vote, but hey,
Didn't even get there.
yeah, man.
Yeah,
It's like
and what I
Anyway,
have been saying was the reason why Jeff okayed getting to 14 episodes. Teeny was not able to get to the final three. Anyway, tonight we will give our thoughts for about season 47, episode 14, entitled "The Last Stand." But
yep.
before we begin, do consider hitting the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you get updated whenever we come up with new episodes on this channel. And for those of you who don't want to have to look at our mugs whenever we talk Survivor, you can always go wherever you get your podcasts. Search for Council of Titos and you'll get to listen to us there. And of course, please do give us a 5-star rating or whatever's rating system you have on your podcasts so that we can, get the attention of On Fire. And so, without further ado, let's begin. I guess we can start off with us forgetting to actually predict who was going to say the line that was going to be the title. The Last
Yeah,
Stand. Well,
yeah. Okay.
you were gonna stay with your bit, right?
Yeah, I was gonna stay
You're
with the bit,
yeah.
obviously, but it doesn't really matter, right? Because
Mm,
this, in the grand scheme of things, I feel like this particular episode really didn't matter.
exactly, exactly. They tried to make it dramatic, right? They tried
Yeah,
to add. Well, it did have that drama, like what we mentioned. The fire was actually the highlight of this episode.
yeah, yeah. But big ups to production, by the way.
Mm.
Just good to say, big ups to production because they actually made it seem as though there was a fighting chance for Sam.
In FTC, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, then again, you hear about all of these feedback after the episode aired,
hmm,
especially from I think even from Rachel. Rachel after the final statements of all of the final three, she had a seed of doubt in her mind about whether or not she won because of how Sam performed in Final Tribal.
yeah. Although I am gonna say, speaking about Sam's final tribal performance,
Mm.
um, what do you think he did wrong?
Oh, because I think that the general disposition of the jury was that they needed for the final three to own up to whatever it is that they did. And for the most part, I think Rachel was able to do that more. There was a little
Right.
bit more that we were talking in our chat, right? That she could have done more to like put the final nail in the coffin, so to speak,
Mm,
but she didn't quite do that because again it was in her it's her personality. She's not really like she's not gonna do that, right?
right.
But for Sam, he actually had all of the license to do it, to like I don't know, to claim all of the he could have like claimed how Italian job is what comes to mind. But yeah, uh yeah, Operation Italy was really him urging Andy, not really. I mean, he will get some talk back from Andy about that, but it was him basically allowing, try to do more spin because he's good at that. He's a very
Yeah.
charismatic speaker. And I think that would have probably given him more than that one altruistic vote from Kyle.
For me, I got the impression that it was also a case of Sam not playing up his own game
Mm,
and trying to take down Rachel's game a little bit more,
mm-hmm,
which I don't know if I don't know if juries like that necessarily.
mm,
I
yeah.
just I'm not sure if y'all noticed it, but like it was a lot of it was or maybe that's just what they decided to show in the edit. But there was a lot of that um hmm? Eh? What?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that smug ass face, or not a smug face, but that face,
Mm,
and trying to push back where there really wasn't very much to push back again. Like it could, at least in the mind of the jury, belie a game that didn't exist.
mm-hmm.
Like, you didn't have the game, so his move now is to try to discredit somebody else's game, which I don't know if I were on the jury, I would particularly like that. But that's just an observation that I had, just to sort of add on to, that.
Yeah. And I totally agree. He could have been a little. It This final tribal actually was a little bit more. How would you say? Hostile compared to previous tribals, right? In previous final tribals, we didn't have as much talk back between the two
Mm,
main protagonists, basically, right?
mm,
Because Sue was just she was there, she was giving her quote unquote sidekick energy. Uh,
yeah,
but yeah, everyone else, sorry, Sam and Rachel were talking back at each other. But yeah, you're right. I think that Sam could have done a little bit more to discredit whatever it was that built Rachel's game. He could have pushed a little bit more on the luck that Rachel had, that Saul actually gave her that advantage, that safety without power advantage,
mm,
the luck of her. He sort of touched on it, right?
yeah,
Bidding on the right food, right? He touched on that,
yeah,
getting that lucky advantage, bidding on the right food. What other thing was that she got, and everything else that she got, right? So
yeah.
he could have pushed a little bit more on that. But again, it depends on how the jury is going to accept that.
Yeah,
The
because I feel like if he had, instead of pushing against Rachel, played up his own game even more,
mm,
like you were saying, like, take more credit for Operation Italy,
mm-hmm,
that sort of thing, and at the same time show growth from being like push hard on the I was on top, and now
mm,
and then come merge I was on the bottom, right? Like he with Dini, right? Like it's hard to kind of looking at Teeny the way she viewed him, it's hard to think of him as an underdog.
mm,
Like we talked about this. Like,
yeah,
I mean, they're the minority, they're the underdogs, but because of circumstances, right? Like, he was never going to be the underdog.
mm-hmm,
He was never going to be viewed as the underdog unless he like made more of a show
yeah.
of being an underdog. But I don't know.
Lean
And
into more of his, because they Sue, who was it, Sue or was it Rachel who asked him, so what's your story gonna be, right? When they were
yeah,
having that final conversation before going to tribal, and
yeah,
then he was like, you'll find out in tribal.
yeah,
And I think that his narrative heading into tribal was he is going to lean into he's going to mention being scrappy, right?
yeah,
And he should have leaned a little bit more into that, right?
yeah,
That's why also when he heard Rachel mention being an underdog, that's one of the first few smug looks that he had on his face, right? He was like,
yeah,
"No, you're not the underdog. I'm the underdog. I was the one playing from below, right? Everyone else, you guys were up top, right?"
yeah. The thing that this particular bat face, oh, whatever, the thing that it reminded me of
You're trying to make it
was,
consistent with the season theming,
yeah,
huh?
there was this time that I was part of an awards deliberation in the school that I used to work at, and we were trying to decide who are we going to give like the top award to, and we were able to narrow it down to two students, and it was quite the dilemma
Mm,
because one of them was born into a rich family and
mm-hmm,
had all of the resources available to him. And instead of going out there and being a rich kid, basically, right? He put those resources to good work.
mm-hmm,
You know, he was able to like do all sorts of things with generational wealth behind him. And then there was this other kid who was a scholar,
Mm-hmm.
came from nothing and was extremely scrappy, was able to get amazing grades, was able to like do his part in rallying the community to get behind all of the good that can be done in the world. Like it was one of those instances where the dude that had generational wealth behind him was obviously able to do more. The kid that was a scholar that came up from nothing wasn't able to do as much, but given the constraints of his situation, was able to do a damn good job.
Mm-hmm.
Who gets the award?
It
That's
depends.
why
Well, yeah, yeah. It depends on
that
the
that's why
criteria. Yeah.
that's why I felt this was going to be a little bit closer
Mm-hmm. Mm.
because that was a very contentious deliberation.
Question is, who did get the award in your end?
Rich kid.
Rich kid. Yeah, but
Yeah,
again, it depends on the criteria. If we're talking about the amount of good that he was able to do, then of course it's going to go to the one who was able to do more, right? But
yeah,
if it goes to who maximized the resources given to them more, maybe it would have been closer to the other kid because they didn't really have as much, but they were able to maximize the whatever it is that they had, and they had an impact. Again, it goes back to criteria,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. The criteria was who was able to do more
Mm,
and
exactly.
like be more, right? But then it became but then the thing that was contentious was how are we going to define more if you do the most with what you got. Yeah,
Mm,
that's again because it was a very contentious meeting that night. I thought this was going to be a little bit closer, a little bit more
mhm,
contentious, but you know, just like what happened, Rachel
mm.
won. Um, I'm hoping Sam gets the on fire gig,
Oh yeah, yeah. Because
right?
he already, I mean, you showed it to me. He already has an existing podcast.
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. So I'm hoping that Sam gets the on fire gig. Well, the reason I say Sam
Okay.
is because just like just like our dilemma when we were deciding
Mm,
between those two kids, um, the kid that didn't get the top award got unanimous recommendation for the top scholarship that was on offer. So, like, he didn't get the quote unquote best award that
mm-hmm.
the school would give, but you know how you're in education, right? Like, you know that like foundations and stuff, like go to high schools and be like, all right, here's, our
Yeah.
criteria for who we're going to give the scholarships to. And so we looked for the best scholarship that was offered and we gave it to
Oh, that's
that
cool.
guy. Right. So, it was so hopefully similar to that kid. Um Sam gets something,
Mm-hmm.
you know, apart from like the much less money that they get for being a finalist,
Yeah,
you know.
far less, right? I mean, what was it? I think that someone mentioned it somewhere. It's far less than according to a previous castaway, 600,000. Once Obama got his hands onto on the prize
Yeah.
money. But yeah, uh, still kudos to Sam for being able to scrap his way into final three. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I wrote this. I was actually making notes. Usually I do my note taking on my second watch, but this time I started making notes during my first watch.
Because we
Uh
knew who was gonna
yeah,
win.
because yeah, there wasn't really the only time that I stopped taking notes was during fire, basically.
Mm.
Because that was the time where I don't know who was gonna win. I mean, it looked as if it was gonna be a teeny by a mile, but then again, Sam scrapped his way back into into contention and won. Right, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm just gonna say this is why the
mm,
Rachel luck argument doesn't hold water because like it takes quite a lot of luck for the wind to blow in that
true,
direction.
true.
So it's like they just sort of cancel each other out because
Mm,
that's like the ultimate luck.
I mean, yeah, luck really does play into Survivor. I mean, you can't really say that no one who gets far in the game was able to do it without any form of fortune going their way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
It's
just like what I was saying is that the apparent theme for me, the through the through story that I found uh throughout the season was really the word, and it kept on coming up. I don't know why it kept on coming up, and then I finally think, okay, that's probably why, because they want us to think about that word, and it's flipping, right? Being
mm,
able to, I mean, you had one character in Andy who was flip flopping everywhere to
right.
get far in the game, and in a sense, he also flipped his own narrative, coming up from the, as Jeff said, one of the worst, if not the worst, starts in Survivor history, to being able to gain control of the game, even for like a couple of episodes, just for a couple of episodes, and then flipping his own narrative. Not a lot of people really were fans of him. Jeff acknowledged that, right? That
Yeah.
if the regular viewer, if they saw that first episode, they were immediately thinking this guy's out, right?
Yeah.
And then he was able to do his redemption arc.
Yeah. So they also mention it by saying like people play from the top and from the bottom, and they've done it,
Mhm.
they've played from either the top or the bottom, each and every one of them.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, it's
I
the
like
same.
this
I mean,
season.
yeah, Sam and Rachel also had that kind of a season, right?
Yeah.
Sam and Rachel, they were on top at the start. Like they were the dominant, they were part of the dominant group in the Yellow Tribe, and then all of a
Mm.
sudden, Sierra gets voted off, and that group suddenly found themselves in the bottom. It's just that Rachel was able to gather enough how, yeah, luck or whatever. She was able to go on that immunity run and get all of those crucial immunity wins to be able to flip her own narrative and get back in the onto the top. Sam was unable to do so, right?
You know what? Screw it, man. Sue should have won. You know what? Screw it, man. Sue should have won. In honor of Sue and her Christmas tree obsession, here are some Christmas themed like things that I'm gonna keep next to me.
Sue, Sue, oh my gosh, Sue. Uh, yeah, they lovingly call her Dirty Sue now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I
Man.
mean, still a good, huge achievement for a lady to, for a castaway to get into the final three on her 59th birthday.
Yeah. They should have just, gifted her the million. Like, it's my birthday. Good. Here's $1 million.
Here's $1 million. Rachel should have done like a Gabler, but instead of donating it to to veterans, donate it to Sue.
Donated to Sue. Her reveal that she's actually 59 didn't go over as hard as I think like she expected it to, and that
Yeah.
was like really sad. But now I'm curious to see if
Mm.
she's going to show up like underneath our video in the people mentioned. Because like every now and then, like when I open up the video to see, oh, why is there a picture of John Cena here? Then like, oh, it's John Cena, you know? So maybe if we just keep on naming people, like
Yeah, we
just
should, and then hopefully the algorithm, like, gets us to these people.
wow, why is this Survivor podcast talking about James Gunn and that new Superman trailer?
Yeah. Oh, that was beautiful. That was a beautiful trailer.
Yeah,
Can't wait for it.
yeah.
Can't wait for July. Uh,
God, I can't believe they're actually doing crypto.
and that was such a, the crypto is so cute. I mean, of course he's mostly CGI. I think it was entirely CGI, right? The
I don't
crypto
know.
is entirely CGI. I don't know, but so adorable. Now I want a dog. I mean, I'm a cat person.
Mhm. But all I know is that because it's a James Gunn movie, it's gonna have a lot of heart, and it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna have daddy issues.
Oh. Well then, yeah, yeah, yeah. That,
Like,
that
you
we
know,
had that shot. We had that sequence with Clark and Jonathan, right?
yeah,
Yeah. For those of you who have not seen the trailer, why first, and then yeah. So we won't spoil any more of it. But yeah, we hope that you get to see that trailer. It's a really good trailer. It gets me excited. Granted, I am a DC guy more than a Marvel guy. Uh, but yeah, I'm
yeah,
getting excited for comic book movies again, superhero
yeah.
movies. That
I
is.
can't, I can't. Oh, they got the perfect person to do it,
Mm,
James Gunn,
James Gunn.
because of everybody that's done a superhero movie, he's the one that has the most heart. Like
Mm,
when you watch Peacemaker, when you
mm.
watch the Guardians films, except that second one, I didn't quite like that one too much. But like
Well, it
Guardians
had the
3,
daddy issues. Yeah.
yeah, it had the daddy issues. Maybe a little too much daddy issues for my take, for my liking. But like I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
And once again, like the Titos that we are, we digress. Uh, but yeah, Survivor. We did talk about the castaways as superheroes.
Yeah.
So far, I think that's the short that has gotten the most views.
Was that, I thought it was the
Although
Harry Potter one? I
the
don't
Harry
know.
Potter one, the first Harry Potter one is getting some views. I think the first one is in the 500s already. Uh,
Okay. So
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
welcome, welcome. We like to go off tangent a lot. Like we try to talk about Survivor, but then our Titoness comes out every
Hmm.
now and then.
Yeah.
And this was like a predictable episode, so like, this was like one of those, it could have been us being like, oh my God, analyzing every little piece of like, well, Rachel won.
And
It looked
I
like
mean, the thumbnail of our previous episode already crowned Rachel.
yeah.
Right.
So,
So yeah, this is like, when I'm covering basketball games and then one team is like up by a gazillion points, you sort
yeah.
of try to drum up more interest, but then again, because there's nothing more to talk about, you talk about other things.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of
Hmm.
basketball games, everybody, please watch the MPBL
Junior
YouTube channel.
MPBL. Yeah, Junior
Yeah,
MPBL. Yeah,
yeah,
and later, I'm covering another pro game, a pro game, the Pilipinas Super League, and then soon, hopefully, I get assigned to take on, because in MPB Junior MPBL and Filipina Super League, I speak in Filipino and English, but
mm,
there is a league that I hope I get to cover again, the Asian tournament where I will talk mostly
mm,
in English. So yeah.
right.
Yeah. What about you, Chow? What other stuff do you have?
Now, that MPBL, I find it so funny. It's
Hmm.
the Maharlika Pilipinas
Yeah.
Basketball League, but in my mind, it's the Manny Pacquiao Basketball League,
Well, technically, yeah,
right? Because he was,
he
which
is
which
the one behind.
No,
Oh,
props to him. Props to him for not calling it the Manny Pacquiao
yeah.
Basketball League, because I think he did that with his like billiards tournament, right? He called it like the Manny Pacquiao
Mm,
Open or something
mm,
back in the day. Of like, oh, well, props to him, like not putting his name on this thing.
yeah,
Like it shows that I guess he wants it to be its own thing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And well, later the game that I'm covering features the team that he is a part of. He is
Oh,
on the lineup of.
ooh,
Yeah, so I don't know if he's gonna play. I don't know if he actually is gonna play, but yeah, he's on the lineup. We will see if I get to cover the basketball playing national fist, right?
yeah.
That's the pambansang kamao. That's what it translates to.
Oh,
Anyway,
wait, I'm gonna do another bit. Hold up.
what
Yeah, for the
what
audio
is this?
listeners, I'm really sorry. Uh, hey, Pac-Man on my shirt.
There you go. Pac-Man on the shirt.
Not Manny Pacquiao people, but like
Yeah.
like like Waka Waka
The
Waka Pac-Man.
yeah, the video game Pac-Man. Uh yeah.
So we're trying to
What
see
is
if
it?
Manny Pacquiao's face is gonna show up on the bottom of this video now.
my gosh. Well, so this is one thing that I have to give props to production for. Uh, because all throughout the season we've only been, and I love the fact that they've been using the survivor theme again. This was one
Yes.
of the clamor from fans from way back, right, about how the survivor theme needed to be used in the OBB, on the OBB once again.
Mm.
But now I was so glad to have heard it. That was one of the moments that gave me goosebumps as Rachel
Yes.
was doing that come from behind win with a puzzle. All of a sudden we start hearing the "Ay, ay, ay, ay." It
Mm.
was like that is the crowning moment of
Yes.
Rachel.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Oh yeah, because at that point you're like, all right, yeah, fine. She's totally gonna win. Even like during that final breakfast,
Mm,
there was a lot of like Rachel.
mm.
It was coming up all Rachel. Just big ups to Survivor Production for trying to make it a lot closer than it was, or make it look a lot closer than it was.
Well, a lot of the comments that I have here actually are more on production, on how they were telling the story more than the actual story itself. Like
Yeah,
the well, I'm gonna use your word, the juxtaposition of confessionals of Sam and Teeny as they were discussing leading
fire.
towards the fire. Right,
Yeah,
that was cool. Right, it's like one of those, those plays that we have where you'd have the two characters on either side of the stage, and then they'd be talking in sort of a similar monologue. Right,
mm,
it's not, but they're talking about two different things, but also about the same thing. Right, and
yeah,
then you just intercut with between the two of them, lights on, lights off, and between the two of them. So this was exactly what this was.
yeah, yeah. The using the medium of television about as well as they can. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and,
So
another one was the jury montage. I don't know if we've ever had those extreme close-ups in the jury montage. I know that we would have like those tracking shots,
mm,
right? And then they'd have their own. Oh, this player did really well. Yada yada yada. Confessional, and then they'd go to another one with a tracking shot. But this one, they had like those extreme close-ups of the
mm,
faces of the jury, like
yeah.
that was like in your face. Like I don't know, that for me it gave a different feel for this episode.
You
Yeah.
know that jury montage? Like when it comes to the final episode
Mm.
of a Survivor season, that's the thing I look forward to the most. Like, I don't know, like more than the final tribal. Maybe that's just me, but like that that final montage before they go into tribal, where you have the jury saying like, "All right, this is what I think they should
Mm.
do," etc., etc. Like that's the part of the episode that makes me feel things.
Mm. Mm.
I don't know. I don't know why that is, but
This is of course
it's,
in lieu of the whole in the previous seasons. Also, although they did also do it for this episode, right? In previous seasons where they would go around and they'd find the different the torches of their fallen comrades, and then they'd say a few words about that person. Right? But
yeah,
we haven't really had that in recent seasons. It was
yeah.
only, I believe, in this season that they actually had that. That Sue was our heroes and no buffs. They kept on. They joked about how Sue was like, "Who was that again? Who
Yeah, yeah.
who
I
came
mean,
next?"
it was what's it, right? Like they don't exactly like that. Survivor doesn't like doing that very much, where
Mm,
they like go and look at all the torches and be all like, oh,
yeah.
whatever, right? But like this was a really good, um, how do you put it? It was a really good, like compromise,
Hmm.
because you did get that. What was the term for it? The fallen whatever? I can't
Uh,
remember
it's
the
not fallen comrades. It's yeah, but it does have fallen in it. Yeah.
yeah. So like whatever it was called, like this feels like a really good sort of compromise there. Like you
Hmm.
do have the whole like looking back and remembering, the people y'all voted out, and then at the same time you have you have that juxtaposed against what those people are saying about you while you're still in the game. Like
Mm,
it's really clever,
mm,
and like I said, this is the part of every like final episode of Survivor that I look forward to. The part right before they go into Final Tribal.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Final
because
tribal.
that's I don't know, that's where production makes us feel things.
Especially for this episode where it was really hard for us to feel anything other than, no like giving props to Rachel for winning.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Final tribal. How do you feel about Kyle with that wayward vote? Denying denying Rachel of I think if I remember correctly, the only the third perfect final tribal.
Was that her? Oh, final tribal.
Yeah.
Because like she didn't have a perfect game, right?
No, she didn't. I mean, I think that she got votes. She got votes. No,
Yeah.
she got votes, but then again, she was. I think that was the time that she. No, she did get votes, and then that's why she was so unsure. That's the next time she used her dice, her die, and then the next tribal she used her safety without power. Was it? No, she had safety without power. She used die, and then she also used
Her idol.
her idol, immunity idol. Right. I don't. I
Mhm.
don't. I'm not sure if she ever caught any votes that were not uh removed.
Mm.
But anyway, yeah, almost perfect game. Almost perfect final tribal ruined by the wayward vote of Kyle.
Mm.
What are your feelings about that?
Good for you, Kyle. Good for you. I'm pretty sure they talked about this like before, before going to final tribal.
Mm.
Everybody was like, "All right, so who's gonna vote where? Where's everybody leaning?" And when they all kind of realized that it was I suspect it wasn't as much of a blowout before Final Tribal.
Mm.
Like I
You think
suspect
that
that there
final
were,
tribal really pushed votes towards Rachel?
yeah, at least at least Sierra and Andy, I think.
Mm. Oh, you think Andy was gonna vote Sam?
Yeah, I think you might have voted Sam.
Mm. Wow. Well, yeah. Sierra, I think, right? Leaned that way because of the alliance,
Mhm.
or the duo that they had. Uh, but yeah, I was surprised that Sierra voted Rachel despite that, despite the despite
Yeah.
the final tribal. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Final Tribal was what changed her mind.
Hmm.
Um kind of like what's her name? Maria. Um, she who must not be named. All right, so going back to our Harry Potter thing, maybe
Mm.
Maria is Voldemort. Maria from 46. Maria from
46.
46.
Yeah,
Maybe she's
446. Not voting
Voldemort.
Charlie. Yeah.
She who must not be named. This is an addendum to one of the shorts. Yeah, so there, good for you, Kyle.
Mm.
Um, I guess he knew that it wouldn't make a difference,
Mm.
you know,
Mm.
because like
Well, yeah.
that was his like he basically said I voted for him because he changed my life. Nice
Yeah.
guy,
Yeah.
for very personal
Yeah.
reasons, not
Yeah.
game reasons. That to me says like, yeah, I know Rachel is gonna win, but because I'm, because of a buck 20 or whatever,
Hmm.
like I can throw this vote, I can throw this wayward vote. Um, yeah, I was thinking Caroline would vote for Sue.
Oh. But then again, Caroline was always she was a champion of whoever was doing well,
Yeah.
and Rachel was doing really well,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So I think that that's why she voted for, yeah, she voted for Rachel, and actually, I think that Caroline was a very logical player, whereas Sue was a very emotional player. Caroline was more logical. Although she was very emotional, outwardly emotional, she celebrated the victories of others, not necessarily herself, because she
Yeah.
didn't have too many victories to celebrate. Anytime anyone had a good move, did made a good move or won immunity, she was like the first to like really, celebrate that victory,
Yeah.
right? That win. So yeah.
Yeah.
So
She really would have won if she made it to final tribal.
yeah,
Like
I'm
I
sure
think
that everyone loved
Caroline,
her.
yeah. Like I'm pretty sure the Carol like low key we didn't see it, but I think she
Mm.
was the biggest threat out there.
Mm. More so because of her social game, right?
Yeah.
And Survivor, especially in the new era, has become a social game for the most part, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's because she was voted it's because she was voted off a little bit earlier on, I think.
Hmm.
That we really didn't get to see that. But in in an alternate timeline where like she was the winner, the edit would have shown just how strong her social game was.
Hmm.
I feel like she was she was a lot like Kenzie in that
Mm.
way.
Yeah,
Right? A lot like Kenzie, a lot
yeah.
like Jam
Now that
Jam,
you
right?
mention it,
Very
yeah. Now that you mention it, yeah.
very like social players. Like, you know, I don't know. Caroline
Yeah,
should have won. And
Caroline should have won.
because Caroline didn't win, it should have been Sue.
It should have been Sue.
That's it. That's it. I think like at the end of the day, if it wasn't Andy, should have been Sue.
It should have been Sue. But then again, and this was brought up by Genevieve during Final Tribal. She actually asked Sue about Sue's own criteria, right?
Yeah.
About, so she asked if lying and disloyalty did not have a place in Survivor for Sue. And Sue just said, yeah. So I think that also gave us a glimpse of what the community of this season of Survivor, season 47, valued, and it wasn't
Mhm.
necessarily loyalty.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was gameplay. It was figuring things out, right? Being able to undo whatever it is that happened to you, which in large part is what happened to Rachel. She had a lot
Yeah.
of things thrown her way. She was fighting with fighting from below, and then she was slowly able to bring herself up to a place of power enough to get her into the final tribal and dominate that final the final few episodes, right?
Yep. Sue
Yeah.
should have won though.
One thing though that
Hustle,
did come
loyalty,
true.
respect.
Hustle. You can't see me. Well, we hardly
Maybe,
saw Sue in Final Tribal.
maybe that's why she didn't get any votes. Maybe she's actually John Cena.
Dude, props to Gabe. Props to Gabe for including Sue in that one question. I think whose question was it? That was primarily directed at just Sam and Rachel, and then Gabe was like, "Well, I have a personal connection to Sue as well. So Sue, answer the question." Oh, I think it was Sierra's. It was Sierra's question.
Sue should have gotten Caroline's vote. She should have gotten Gabe's
Gabe's
vote,
vote. Uh-huh.
right?
And Andy said that he wanted to work with Sue. So yeah,
Yeah, I could have. She should have gotten Andy's vote. Um, there's a world where she gets Kyle's vote,
yeah, right.
right?
So he's like, Oh, I feel so bad for calling her with Tweedly D, right? Or Tweedly Dumb and all of that. So I'll give her my vote. You know.
Yeah, and you know, like he values family. Like
Mm-hmm.
really, Kyle and Sue are uh they're very similar in
Mm-hmm.
their values. I can see, you know, like
Yeah.
very wholesome, very sort of family oriented.
Mm-hmm.
You know, very I'm gonna do everything for those that I love, like
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So there is a world where like Sue gets Kyle's vote.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, Sue should have won. That's my thesis on this.
That's your thesis on this. Sue
Right,
should
like
have won. Sue was
last
robbed.
season. Yes, right. Last season, people were all about like Charlie should have won.
Nah,
For this season, it's
it's Sue.
Sue should have won,
All right.
or at the very least, gotten like a vote or two.
A vote or two. I mean, yeah, I would have been okay with her getting a vote or two, but yeah, she was for the most part she was purple throughout the season.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, I really I want to see an old lady win Survivor.
true. Me too. Me too. I want to
Right?
see someone in their 50s, a female castaway in their 50s and above winning Survivor
Yeah.
after Tina Wesson, right? Tina Wesson was one of she
Yeah.
was season 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
but then again, Tina Wesson was like, I am a very truthful person outside of the game, but inside of the game, she knew that she had to lie. She knew that she had to quote unquote cheat, right?
Yeah.
Or backstab, right?
Yeah. So well, we got an old man win. Why not an old woman?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? Who knows? We've got 48.
Mm.
I don't necessarily remember seeing any senior or middle aged or yeah middle aged castaway.
Well, we can save that for the first episode of the Council of Titos next year,
Yeah, we can go
where
ahead and do
we
that.
uh where we examine where we look at the cast of Survivor 48
Mhm.
and we come up with some sort of list.
Yeah. Any final notes on this episode? Episode 13B.
No, it's episode 14. It's episode 14. That's why I wore the Snoopy, or that's why I wore
The
the Peanuts
peanuts.
shirt, because this is episode 14. It's the episode 14.
Fortini. Oh, there you go. There you go. Well, and yeah, so this was a teeny episode, how she finally lost everything. Yeah. Well, anyway, my last word for it would be well, all hail Queen Rachel.
Yeah.
That was my final word for this episode
What
for
about this
episode
season?
14. No, the season.
What
Well,
about
yeah,
the
like what you
season as a
said.
whole? This is a
Like what you
short. This
said.
is a short, right? This is
Yeah,
straight up a short.
yeah. Like what you said.
Joel reviews the season.
This season was really good. It gave us a lot of good characters, and like I said, the whole theme of the season was flipping. We had a lot of uh, castaways moving from top to bottom and then clawing their way back up to the top. And it was the one person who was able to completely do that to fulfill everything. She was on top, and then she went to the bottom, and then slowly but surely she gained momentum and found herself at the top of the mountain by the game's end. And that's Rachel. Great season. Great season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the sort of when I think about like ranking seasons,
Hmm.
I don't think about ranking them in order anymore because there's just too much to like consider.
Yeah.
What I like to think about is like you have the middle, which is just an okay season.
Hmm.
And um well, we have some that are above the middle and some that are below the middle.
Hmm.
And this season was definitely above the middle.
Above the middle. Above the middle. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Definitely. Yeah. So that's it for tonight's episode. We would greatly appreciate it if you hit the like button so we don't get voted off the channel. At any rate, This has been Joel Parcon.
Sue should have won.
We hope to see you on the council again soon in time for next season. And also, Merry Christmas, everyone. We hope that you have happy holidays. And until we see you again, stay safe, mga kalaro. The Titos have spoken.